when you're in pain, soothing as a springtime rain, to have a friend right in your corner, your heart will feel a little warmer. Tender loving care, tender loving care, each warm and friendly touch lets someone know you care so much. Tender loving care, tender loving care.
Hi, I'm Dr. Greenbrier Almond. Thank you for joining us on our program, Tender Loving Care. I have a special guest, and we began a conversation a week ago. Leanna Hinkle. Leanna, you were telling us your dad is actually a school teacher, and he works in the alternative school here in Upshur County, and your mom is
A dental hygienist.
a dental hygienist. Okay, so she's one of these people that you have to smile big for her, right?
Yeah.
And I always love to go to my dental hygienist because I get rid of all the tartar, and she tells me to floss. And
That's actually how my parents met. My
Oh.
dad went in for an appointment, and I guess you could say it was love at first sight. 'Cause
Okay,
he
wow.
had his sister go back and check my mom out for him to see what
Uh-huh.
she thought about her, and she approved. And so
Wow.
he went in for another appointment, and the next time he asked her on a date, and then that's history from
wonderful.
there. Yeah.
You know, I'll say this not to make anyone angry who has another profession, but when I was at West Virginia University in the medical center, the dental hygienists were also being trained there, and I would say of all the disciplines, physical therapy, nursing, pharmacy, certainly the doctors, the dental hygienists were the prettiest. I don't know why. They had to. Everyone had to wear their uniforms, of course, and everyone's very proper. But people that selected dental hygiene seem to be beautiful people. I
My
don't
mom
know.
actually went to WVU, so.
Okay, well, I see the beautiful people there. Okay. Well, you're working on a school project, and as we talked last time, you want to be a psychiatrist. So you've wanted to ask questions about what it's like to be a psychiatrist. So fire away.
Okay. Of all your years of practicing psychiatry, did you ever face any emotional side effects or burnouts? And if so, how did you cope with them?
Okay. Yeah, there have been times. I go back to my principal in high school, but before that, he was my health teacher, Frank Viola. I'll give him credit for a lot of how I avoid burnout. He was teaching us health and phys ed, and he was even before that, when I had this sandlot ball, a little league ball, he would volunteer all summer to help us learn how to hit the ball off the tee, you know, and all of that. So I really liked Frank Viola. But he said in health class one day, he said, it's going to be hard for you when you get out of high school to get up a team sport. How are you going to get 9 ball players, baseball players, on 18 people to play ball? Or how are you going to get 11 and 11, 22 people to play football, or even 5 and 5 for basketball? You know, how can you do that? He said, you need a sport that you can do every day alone, and you can do it any time. And of course he started suggesting tennis would be easier, golf would be easier, and he said running. And I thought, well, I could run every day, couldn't I? Swimming, you could do swimming, so, that type of thing. That anyway, his point being, you need to do some exercise every day for the rest of your life. If you don't, you'll be in trouble. You'll burn out, and because it's really renewing to do exercise. So I joined the cross country team. It was a brand new team at the high school that year, and I've never looked back. I've run every day until I was about 55, and then I was in a truck accident, and now I walk every day. I walk 5 miles today already. So I do that, and it's the best time of the day. Many days. I'm not saying that the rest of the day is bad, but I rejuvenate. I solve problems while I'm walking. My head is clear, and and I'm ready to go again. And when I was in medical school, I thought, well, this is going to be too hard. I said, I better give up running. I better just study harder in the library. And I would go over there in the evening to the library, and I'd read the same page 2 or 3 times. I said, I'm wasting my time. I should go running. So after about a week or 2 weeks, I went back to running. I ran every day, even in medical school. And if you do it every day, it doesn't matter what the weather is, because you're used to the weather. I mean, the seating, if it's below 20 degrees, then maybe I don't want to do that for my lungs, and I can, ride an indoor bike or something like that. But I think we need an aerobic exercise program. 30 aerobic points every week, 10,000 steps a day. If you're older like I am and walking, you can still get the aerobic points through a lot of it, other ways of exercise. But then burnout. We need time to rejuvenate. I've practiced medicine when I've worked 60 or 70 hours a week, and you can do that for a while, but I think the Bible's right. I think we should take one day off every week, the Sabbath day, a day of rest, day of renewal. There was a study in Russia. Of course, it's an atheistic country, and we had a Cold War with them for a long time. But they were working people all the time, and they found out that they were actually losing efficiency. And though they were not doing it for spiritual reasons, they started giving people a day off every week. They got more work out of the person.
Yeah.
And so I regret the downturn we have in our society right now, the economic downturn, and many people that I see are working 2 jobs, and the average West Virginian is getting 6 3/4 hours sleep at night, which is too little. But if you work 2 jobs, how are you going to do it? You have to cut out sleep too. But if I get my exercise, if I take my Sabbath day of rest, if I get enough sleep, our body rejuvenates itself.
Okay. Well, while you were working, what types of settings did you practice in, like a private practice or hospitals or?
Okay, yeah. I think I follow the mold. You'll learn this in a psychology class, or certainly in medical school. The average person growing up in America now will change jobs at least 5 times. I mean, that's the average. And I think I have. I came here from my training in Charleston, came back home, and they didn't really know what a psychiatrist was. I mean, the local doctors began to make referrals to me, but people on the street didn't know what to expect. And I had one lady come in to see me, and she says, I always remember how she said it. She looked at me and she said, I don't know if this is going to work. He says, I remember when you were a pimply little boy. And I did have some pimples when I was a little boy. So anyway, she was hard on me. So I started off doing a lot of I call it bread and butter neurology. I would see the Alzheimer person, the older person. I would see the person with seizures. 2-3% of our population has seizures. I would see the people with headaches. I mean, 90% of us have headaches, so all those folks needed medical care. But I was trained to do that, so I could do that. But then I would take call at the emergency room on Monday, and that was my share of the load for the rest of the doctors in the community. We had no ER doctors back then. And so then I would see people who could become my psych patient as they come through. They were anxious, depressed, and so forth. And then I would schedule them to the office. So in a very short time I had a psychiatric practice, but I started off with a general medical practice with a slant toward neurology. And then I had a doctor who said he would join me because I wanted to have help. And he said, we need an inpatient unit. Anyway, I started an inpatient unit. I got up to 26 beds. That's hard, day and night, to take care of 26 inpatients. He didn't come. I mean, he let me down. And I said, I can't go on. So I said, I have to change to academia. And so I taught in a medical school. But I had 3 psychiatrists come take my practice at that time. And I was away from West Virginia for 2 years. And then I said, I need to come back, you know. And we had children then, and I told my wife, I said, we're both doctors. This will be funny, weird, sad if we have a successful practice, but our children don't turn out right. So I said, we need to pay attention to our children. So we began to work for the VA with the idea that we would come home at 4:30. So we could go to all the school events, we could participate. I became a youth leader in our church. We had some great times skiing and you know, crazy parties and all-night movies, and I don't know, you know, we did everything fun, and that was a great time with the kids because they grow up too fast, you know. We bought a farm and did a lot of farm work, and that was great for Ronce and his friends. They could earn money and, you know, spend it at the Strawberry Festival, and but you know, do farm work at the same time, so they learned to work. And so we tried to spend time with the kids in those years. And then I had a truck wreck at the farm, and I said, what did I not do that I meant to do? Because, you know, if you're going to be cut in two, the truck landed on top of me and almost cut me in two. And my daughter, who was a doctor at that time, said, well, your O-ring held. Your pelvic bones didn't give way entirely, and you know, I wasn't really cut in two, but my pelvis was crushed, and I wasn't able to move. I mean, it was too painful to move. So I wrote a book for 6 weeks, and it was 6 weeks. Then I've given you 4 books. I wrote. Now I have 2 more books in printing. So my father's book, and 5 books I've written now. So I discovered something that I had forgotten that I like to do, and then I wanted to take care of children. I had taken care of old men for a long time, and so I switched and started taking care of children. You know, I worked in the school-based clinics and things like that, and then I got on school board. Been doing that for 5 years. So anyway, I've every time I get in a rut, I get back out of the rut.
Yeah.
Makes life interesting.
Yeah. Well, out of those different settings and experiences that you had, did you find any of them to be more beneficial or more enjoyable?
You know, I've liked everything I did. When the kids were born, we gave out almond joy bars. You know, it's in my wife's Filipino. There's almond joy candy, has coconut in it, and it has chocolate, and then it has almonds.
Yeah.
You know, so we always claim almond joy. So I've liked everything I've done. I mean, I've never had a bad job. I never had a bad patient. I mean, there's challenges, but I wouldn't change anything really that way.
Okay. Now with my project, as I told you before, I'm focusing on Alzheimer's disease, and I know you said you've worked with patients.
Right.
Or,
Yeah.
did you notice any signs from those patients? Like, did you know any of those patients prior to finding out that they had Alzheimer's disease?
Okay. Yeah, you know, this is a very sad disease. I mean, and we're learning a lot about this Alzheimer's. I think the very heart of a person is their memory. I mean, we say heart and memory, but I mean the very soul of the person, the way that we know them. I mean, my wife and I have been married 40 years. Like, you can imagine all the memories we share. 40 years of memories, and they're very precious. And so, what the saddest thing for me is that when someone is getting Alzheimer's, the other family members are also confused as to what to do, because they realize their loved one is not remembering all these shared stories and activities. And of course then usually there's something dangerous happens. I mean, in our society we tend to drive, and we all want to have a car, and people don't give up driving. until they've had an accident. If they're old, even if they were very demented. I mean, I had one couple. They had visited their daughter in New Jersey, and the man was with Alzheimer's. He got up in the middle of the night and said, "Honey, it's time to go back to West Virginia." Well, it's the middle of the night, but you know, what's she going to do? This is her husband. They get in the car and they zoom all the way back to West Virginia, 8 or 12, 14 hours or whatever it took to get here. You know, probably getting lost on the way and really, really crazy. And this is when, then she called up and said, "I need help. You know, my husband's not safe to drive," and you know, so the whole world begins to fall apart for these families. And people don't. There are early treatments to help slow down the memory loss, but they're like this. I use analogies like soldiers' analogies in life, but it's like jumping out of an airplane with a parachute. You can have a parachute as you jump, but the gravity is still going to bring you to the earth. So whatever medicine we're using, it doesn't stop Alzheimer's. It slows down the course. Maybe it lets them have a smooth landing. Maybe it allows family members to come together and help each other in a process. But everyone has to be planning for that time, because it doesn't shorten anyone's life. Alzheimer's doesn't shorten life. It's not like heart disease or cancer, where the life is over quickly. So they're going to live out a normal life, and so you have to spend all this time the preparation. There's a book. I always have my patients read the book called 36-Hour Day. Of course, the day has 24 hours, but the point being that caring for someone with Alzheimer's is consuming, and these people need time off. Whoever the caretaker is needs time off. In the VA system, it's a good system because the wife can be paid for caring for her husband, if that's the case, or vice versa, and or they can pay for someone else to come into the home, because in the end, the person might get into a nursing home, but that's the worst place.
Yeah.
For an Alzheimer's person, the home is still the best place, if it can be made safe.
Yeah.
And so you really have to do a lot of things in caring for someone. We have, I was on a board member for years and years of the State Alzheimer's Association, and of course they have Walk for Alzheimer's, raise money, they have research funds, they have public meetings, but the family needs support groups. The psychiatrists know how to run support groups, where you get people to share secrets or things that work, things that didn't work, but they can tell each other, they can support each other. We do that with, I think every disease should have a support group. I mean, even when I was taking care of adolescents and children, the children needed a safe place to run to when their own parents were being unreasonable. So if there's a support group, they could go visit someone else in the support team. If they're part of a church, they know other adults they can go to. Maybe if they're on a sports team, they know the coaches or maybe there's a favorite teacher. But we need to have a variety of people that are supporting us, but certainly with Alzheimer's.
Yeah, my grandma, as I told you before, has Alzheimer's, and my grandpa has taken care of her throughout the whole thing.
Hats off to him.
Yeah. I mean, we can see, the wear and tear on his body from taking care of her. You can tell that he has emotional problems because of it, and he gets stressed out, and, but, I mean, sometimes I'll stay with her so he can go to a Wesleyan basketball game with my dad and get out of the house for a while,
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's great.
I appreciate those times that I get to spend with her, so. It's good for, well, I guess everyone involved, really, so.
Yeah. We're lucky, fortunate to be living in a small town, and the people know each other, and I think someone with Alzheimer's should be a chance to go to a church, a chance to go eat in a restaurant, a chance to walk around, if it's a safe walk. I've had a lot of people with Alzheimer's, they will follow someone, you know, and so if someone's walking, they'll follow.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. They need the exercise. They need their 10,000 steps a day too. You know, their bowels will work better, they'll have a better appetite, they'll sleep better, all those things. And it's hard to keep a rhythm. I've joked about it, but I mean, I'm getting older, so maybe it won't be a joke someday. But I said, when there's a point where you don't need to do any more lab, you're not trying to save or prolong someone's life. And I said, I'd just like to go to the Philippines. They have wide beaches. Oh, I could walk those beaches, you know, and then they have all this food. They have all the bananas you want and all the coconuts you want, and you know, it's all there's wonderful food. It's healthy, and then you know, there's young nurses who could give me my bath every day, whatever. I mean, I'd rather be in a setting like that than in a nursing home.
Yeah.
There's a joke about this. I mean, that's along that line. This couple is getting older, and they say, "Oh, let's go on a cruise." They go on a wonderful cruise, and there's this very old person on the cruise, and they befriend her, and she's a nice lady, and then they say goodbye at the end of the week. Anyway, later on, another half year or something goes by, and they say, "Oh, that was fun. Let's do another cruise." They do another cruise, and lo and behold, this lady's on the cruise. So they meet her again, and so then the time goes by, and then they go on another cruise. This lady's on the cruise, and they will go up to her and say, "What are you doing here?" And she said, "Well, look at it this way. It costs $1,000 a week to be on this cruise, or whatever amount it is. But let's say $1,000 a week, and so I get all the food I want, I get all the attention I want, and it says, and it costs $1,000 a week to stay in a nursing home." You know, and people neglect you, and you don't get, they don't change your bed every day, and you know, so it says, I just take my money and I just go on cruises forever and ever.
Yeah.
So I mean, I sort of thought, well, I need to do, when I get old, and we all need a plan, but it's good that we're in a small town like Buchanan, because I think people can grow old gracefully here.
Yeah. In what ways do you feel your career has improved society?
Okay. Well, one of the things, pessimistic. I've heard this. Someone told me this. If you take a bucket of water, and you put your hand in the water, there's displacement of the water. The water level will rise a little bit. You pull your hand out, all the water comes back together again, and you look down in there, and you don't see any change. Did you have any effect by putting your hand in that bucket or not? So cynically, we probably don't change the world very much. However, I think in psychiatry, when you help someone at their lowest point, and you walk with them, stay with them through their illness, and then they come out on the other side, you do see, you hear from them later on. I mean, I have, I mean, this is strange in a way, but this is what psychiatrists do. I have a lady, and I don't want to say this, that she's written me every day for 30 years, but I think she has. I think she's written me a letter every day for 30 years. She's gone on with her life. She was an abused child. She's now had a successful marriage. She's been involved in a local church. She's done various things with her life. She loves animals, hates people, but loves animals. And I understand why she might have, you know, revulsion with certain people. But anyway, so where could that happen, except maybe in a medical field, that I could see a whole life pattern like that. But that's just not one person. I mean, I have people every day come up to me and say, "You took care of me when I was so-and-so," and sometimes I remember, sometimes I don't, but then they go on to say that something that we did helped them. And you teach people about their illness. See, there's a difference between healing and just treating a sickness. What I'm interested in is a healing process. Where the person comes through, there's an old, I've heard this from many abused women, they'll say, what didn't kill me will make me stronger. You know, so that's what we do. We discover, okay, these horrible things have happened to you, how can you be stronger?
Okay. And this is my last question.
Okay.
Do you have any advice for a high school senior considering going into this career path?
Okay. Well, definitely a couple of things. In high school, you want to be taking science classes, math classes, whatever foundation classes you need, because you can major almost anything. I have a daughter who's a psychiatrist. She majored in English in college. However, she did take her organic chemistry. She took her basic chemistry, organic chemistry. That's a requirement to get into medical school. She took some basic biology classes, you know, whatever is required to get into medical school, and you look ahead and you figure out exactly what the requirements are. I had to take math through calculus.
Yeah.
Did I like calculus? No, no, I didn't really, but I knew I had to take it, you know, and so I'm glad I had the algebra and the geometries and all those things, because I could take 2 classes in college and be done with my math. So I got all those things out of the way in high school. And then I would say stay well-rounded, because a doctor should not be a nerd.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, they need to be well-rounded people. And medical schools don't want people who are just one-dimensional.
Yeah.
They know that they'll make mistakes in their practice later on, and maybe someone will get hurt, and so they don't even take one-dimensional people. Even if they're straight A's and never made a B in their whole life and so forth, a medical school may pass them up. You know, a medical school really wants a B-plus person who was a 4-H All-Star or an Eagle Scout or you know, something else, all-state orchestra. You know, they want someone who's well-rounded, and that's so do all those things on the way to getting toward medical school. And then when you apply to medical school, it doesn't really matter which one you go to. They all are the same. I mean, there are some that cost more and there's some that cost less, but you need to apply to enough medical schools that you're going to get into one.
Yeah.
They used to say 4, I've heard now 6. I think my daughter did 8. I mean, you know, you apply to, but you can do those all on computer now. It's that's not an ordeal, but you have to, you know, have a strategy when you get to applying to school to make sure you get in. And you have a strategy. You told me that you're thinking about a master's degree along the way. I mean, that might prolong your schooling a little bit, but it will also make you well-rounded and maybe just the fit that some medical school's looking for.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's
Well.
all I had.
Well, Leanna, thank you for coming on our program, Tender Loving Care. A special thanks to Channel 3 for this opportunity to come your way each week. It's been an unusual program in a way, but I'm glad that Leanna called up and asked to interview me as a psychiatrist. And if I said the wrong thing, I'm sorry. And someone out there could add to this or modify it. You probably maybe even have your own testimonial about something that happened in the medical field, and or maybe with my practice. And Leanna's probably open to receiving feedback, huh? Because you really want to know how to be a doctor. And it's a big life decision. Actually, now, by the way, 54% of the current medical school class is women. So being a woman is no impediment anymore. There were about 6 women out of 75 when I was in medical school. So, but now it's clearly a 50-50 proposition.
Yeah.
Okay. Until the next time then, special thanks to Channel 3 for this opportunity to come your way each week. Take care, and we'll see you next week.
Stories of a West Virginia Doctor, written by Dr. Harold D. Allman. A collection of 55 short stories about his experience as a small-town doctor in central West Virginia. And Tender Loving Care. Stories from a West Virginia Doctor, Volume 2, written by Dr. Greenbrier Allman, using videotapes to write 70 additional stories of his father's very colorful life as a small-town doctor. They can be found for purchase at Amazon.com and most local bookstores. Tune into Channel 3 Buckhannon for Tender Loving Care with Dr. Greenbrier Allman, where he talks about the connection between Christianity and medicine.